first with the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal. He's on a charm offensive following the unrest in KwaZulu-Natal to let international communities know and investors that the province is open for business. Sihle Zikalala talks to us in this hour. First, though, let's have a look at what's making news right now. The president tells the state capture inquiry that he recommended Brian Molefe for Eskom's top job, adding that he didn't know about his relationship with the Guptas. KwaZulu-Natal Premier Sihle Zikalala is to meet diplomats and investors on the province's economic rebuilding efforts following the week-long unrest. Guinea's health authorities are on high alert after 155 people are said to have been in contact with persons who contracted the deadly Marburg virus. Thanks for staying with us. In Focus continues now on Newzroom Afrika, channel 405. KwaZulu-Natal Premier Sihle Zikalala will be meeting international diplomats and investors in Gauteng tomorrow to give an update on the readiness of the province to resume business and showcase the province's investment book. This follows, of course, a wave of unrest and looting last month, which threatened to halt the province's economy. Premier Sihle Zikalala joins me now to talk about this. Premier, good evening, and thank you very much for your time tonight. Are you going with a begging bowl in hand in that presentation tomorrow?
Well, thanks for having us in your program, and greetings to the viewers. As KwaZulu-Natal, we believe that we have a responsibility to mend and strengthen relations with the international community, especially members of the diplomatic corps, the investors, as well as those who are here in South Africa. We have to ensure that we mend and strengthen the relationship, because it is only then that we'll be able to see more investments which are very needed in the province. The unrest that we've seen in the past 3 weeks left a very bad impression about KwaZulu-Natal. It is therefore important that we correct that impression, because KwaZulu-Natal have always welcomed investors. It will be remembered that we are the only province that managed to develop and present the investment book in the first investment conference that was hosted by the President, His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa. So we would want to ensure that the uncertainty and the anxiety amongst members of the diplomatic corps is addressed, and they should also continue to be our mouth and ears in their respective countries, sending positive message about KwaZulu-Natal and South Africa as a whole.
Now, information at hand, Premier, what is the extent of the damage to date?
Well, if you will try to calculate and bring together both the private and the public, it comes to about something close to 20 billion. We as government are working hard to ensure that we resuscitate all facilities that were damaged, because they relate to infrastructure development and service delivery. And that is important for the livelihood of the people, but also for business operations in KwaZulu-Natal.
Yeah, I mean, it's largely all industries and sectors that have been affected. I heard Mshengu saying, in fact, he doesn't have money to rebuild the schools that were damaged and vandalized during the unrest. His plan was to come to province and beg for more money, or maybe even appeal to national. What's the plan?
He is absolutely correct. Schools that were vandalized, that happened after we've suffered the budget cuts, which was the reduction that hit all of us and all departments in the province. As a result, the education department has nothing that they can now use to repair schools that were damaged. And I believe it is important that we build the confidence. The private sector must still have confidence, but also we must, as government, engage on how we address the challenges that we've seen. So this will not end here. We will also at some point have a session with the new Minister of Finance to ensure that we brief him about the state of affairs so that we get more support from national government.
Right. The social level, Premier, could probably be a little bit of a challenge right now as you go and speak to investors, because that in itself was quite threatened. And it seems even now, I don't know, you will let me know, the situation is still at tenterhooks. And for an investor, they would want to know a certain level of security to say, indeed, you've got stability back in those communities and some degree of social cohesion is now prevalent.
Indeed, you are correct. The events of the past weeks threaten social stability. We have moved together as the province, together with our social partners, to address those issues. We are grateful also that the Human Rights Commission is also intervening to investigate cases there that happened, especially in Phoenix and surrounding areas. So we are clear, and there is an ongoing program that seeks to unite people across their racial lines and bring them together, socialize them together so that they will then be able to live in a harmonious environment. But we are also ensuring that everyone who comes, especially the potential investors, are also fully briefed so that we don't sugarcoat or we misrepresent. We want to be honest and get people to work with us on the basis of honest and transparency.
Now, what are the concrete measures in place that you have put for early detection so that we are not caught by surprise when these situations arise like it happened last month?
The first is to ensure that there are structures on the ground that are in charge of communities in a form of leadership that comes from civil society, but also the leadership of government. Those are key structures because what happened was a reflection of the lack of leadership at a lower level where people will want to do things as they wish. So that is important to ensure that we strengthen that. But the second approach is to build a relationship among communities. And thirdly, we need to strengthen policy, which is the work that the minister and those who are involved with the MEC, the commissioner, are working on it to ensure that we capacitate the police capacity is strengthened.
The post-conflict situation, of course, can be made worse by the fact that many people have lost employment. They're not back at work because those shops, those industries have got to rebuild. And we're not clear at this point exactly how long that rebuilding is going to take. What is the economic relief measure in place, particularly that will guarantee some level of employment for the people who could have lost their jobs?
Firstly, we would want to welcome the relief that comes from national. The national government have agreed that they will continue with the basic income grant, which will help us. But we are also working with the business community to ensure that there is a support that they get. We firstly made the arrangement so that those who are working in government-owned premises, they are not, we defer the rent, but we further now work on the issue of ensuring that we've got a fund where they can be assisted with loans. So we are also in touch with the National Department of trade, competition, and industry. We are working with the Office of the Minister Patel, to package interventions that will assist us to ensure that the businesses that are struggling are supported.
Premier, we appreciate your time and thank you very much for joining us tonight here on In Focus, and we wish you well in your campaign. And of course, we'll get some feedback as well from you as well as to what the outcome of those engagements, strategic engagements to get investors back into KZN would have yielded.